Get rolling. How is everybody today? Okay, so I'm going to, you know that I don't have a filter, right? And don't we all love people that are totally honest with us? Don't we prefer that? Now, some of us don't really like what they have to say, right? So you don't really like it when they're totally honest sometimes. But for me, my very, very best friends, the people that are closest to me, are really honest with me. They really tell me the truth at all times. And that is why they're good, close friends of mine. It's why I love them the most, right? So with that said, I'm going to ask you guys to be honest with yourselves today. I want you to be as honest as you possibly can be. Now, you're not going to have to speak up. You're not going to have to tell anybody. I'm not going to embarrass you in public. Well, I might embarrass a couple of you. But as a rule, I'm going to ask you to be really honest because we're going to talk about some deep stuff today. Doesn't sound like it's deep, but it is. Because for many of us, we are not operating to our full potential. Would you agree? Yep. We are not doing what we say we're going to do. So let's go ahead and I'm going to pass out a test. And you will see a series of statements. And I want you to mark next to the statement. You're not having to turn these in. You don't have to give them to anybody. No one has to know what you write. This is for your information only. I want you to mark the boxes next to the statements that ring true for you. Whoever has their phone on, turn it off. I can hear it buzzing. So mark your little boxes. Are you done, Mr. Bonanno, or are you shutting off your phone?
I heard it's shut it off once in a while. Do it. I've never done it.
Get your test done. It is good for your phone. When you're done, I would like you to total the two columns, how many in each column you've marked. right, everybody about done? All right, everybody done? So, a couple things. First of all, how many of you got more on this side than the other side? We'll say what the... This side, if I'm looking at it on the left. Okay? So, how many of you feel that you are 80% or more a professional? Only some of you? Okay. So I'll tell you that the results of this test, the one on all the questions on the left-hand side indicate you're a professional. All the ones on the right indicate that you're an amateur. Now, I want to read you, and this is simply up to you guys. Now, what I would do if I were you is I would focus on what things on the right-hand side you can change to become more professional in what you do in your business, right? Because here's the interesting thing about real estate. The majority of us got into real estate because we didn't want to have a job, right? We didn't want to really have someone to report to. We didn't want to have hours that we worked. We wanted to kind of come and go as we wanted. We wanted the ability to be flexible in a number of other things. So I actually looked up the words professional and amateur in the dictionary this morning. And I found it pretty interesting that the word professional is actually an adjective. And it describes as following an occupation as a means of livelihood or for gain, a professional builder, professional realtor. Amateur is actually a noun. And if you guys remember nouns and adjectives from English, you don't? Okay. So a noun is a person, place, or thing. So it's more of something solid, right? A person who engages in a study, sport, or other activity for pleasure rather than for financial benefit or professional reasons. Don't you find that interesting? So an amateur is really here just to do it for fun. If you think of it more along the lines of sports, you think of an amateur athlete versus a professional athlete. A professional athlete is someone who gets paid for what they do. An amateur is somebody who does it for fun. So what percentage would you guys say of the real estate industry as a whole are amateurs versus professionals? What would you guys say? Right? So a good percentage of the agents who get into the business aren't really doing it as a professional for a living. They're kind of doing it for fun. They're kind of doing it half-assed, kind of when they want to do it. They kind of go up when they want, the whole bit, right? How do you think that affects the industry as a whole? Right? And you wonder why we have the reputation with the consumer that we do, right? Because as a whole, the majority of the real estate industry looks at this as an amateur and treats it really as something fun. In other words, the majority of realtors have another source of income, that they're not dependent on this for income, because you'll see a distinct difference in how an agent shows up based on whether this is their only income or whether this is extra income, fun money, so to speak, right? So Seth Godin, who's one of my favorite authors, says it best. He says, by my definition, most art has nothing to do with oil, paint, or marble. Art is what we're doing when we do our best work. Now, you can change that word art out for a professional versus amateur, right? It's what we do when we do our best work. You guys have heard me say many times that my favorite saying of all, would you hire you? Would you be willing to hire you to represent you in a real estate transaction? Or better yet, I like to look at it this way. If you inherited $5 million tomorrow, or you won the lotto, would you hand that money to you to invest? Would you hand it to your buddy who does it on the side, or a friend who does it when she's not working? Would you hand that money to them? Are you, as an agent, giving your very, very best work? Are you showing up the best you possibly can. What do we teach our children? We don't really care how smart they are, right? I mean, it'd be great if they were all geniuses, but we only want them to do their very best. So are you doing your best? As I went through those questions, I was so fascinated because I thought, wow, obviously I didn't get all 100% on the left-hand side, but I got a decent amount when I did it for myself. But what it brought to my attention was all the things that were on the right-hand side that I do as well. And what I noticed too when I did this is that some of it is kind of ego-based. In other words, the top one that says we show up when we want to. We like to say that we get to work whenever the hell we want, right? That's kind of the benefit of being self-employed per se, or being an independent contractor. We think that's a good thing. But if you look at some of the top agents or top professionals in the business, do you think that they kind of just show up when they want? Or do you think that they have a schedule? When you look at top producers, don't you see many of them in there before you get there and after you leave? They put in the time. The second question says, on the professional side, we show up every day. The second one says, we show up no matter what. Now, some will take that as, oh, they don't have a life. They don't have any balance. I take that as, I do whatever it takes to be successful. Come on in, sir.
Sorry.
It's okay.
You know, these buildings all look the same. You can't put signs out anymore.
Here's the test we did before you got here. Please go through and mark the boxes that apply to you. You're welcome. What's that? Amateur move? Oh, she didn't get one already? Oh. So I was actually fascinated by most of the statements that were on here as I started to read through them. So as a professional, we stay on the job all day, right? We do what we need to do. We show up, we get the work done, and then we go home. For many of us, the fun takes place first, and I get that. I would love to do that too. I get to do that when I retire. And there are certain things that take priority, right? We're committed over the long haul. We're not just in this until something better comes along. A friend of mine used to say he didn't have a backup plan, because if you have a backup plan, you'll back up, right? For many of us, we're just doing this until something better comes along. Is that you? The stakes for us are high and real. This is all I got. I'm all in. I got no choice. I'm not going to say I don't have a choice. I have choices in what I do. However, this is what I do. This is what I love. I'm not doing anything else. I'm not going to wait till something better comes along. I am a full-time professional real estate agent. That's what I do. Can you say the same thing for you? We accept compensation for our labor. We get paid on results in this business, right? We don't get paid for time. So there's a difference when it comes to your staff or your employee, or when you have a job. You're paid for time. You're paid to be there from 8 o'clock till 5 o'clock, or whatever your schedule is. You're paid for your time. The problem with that we see in many things, such as the state and a number of other industries, where they're not paid on results. So they don't have any motivation to get things done faster, better, more efficiently, right? Because they're paid till 5 o'clock whether they get it done at 2 or 3 o'clock or not. Personally, I don't think that's a very efficient system. It's what you have to do. Certain people are paid by time. Certain people are paid and motivated by results. We master the technique of our trade. This is another one that I wish more agents would do. They would take the time to practice their trade. Do you think that professional athletes spend more time playing the game or practicing the game? They spend hours and hours and hours and hours practicing their trade to perfect their trade. You watch basketball players and they literally do free throws for hours on end. Hours on end. They are professional at what they do. They practice so that when they show up for the big game, they're going to show up the very absolute best that they can. Are you doing that? We have a sense of humor about it. I like this one because you know what? We screw up. We make mistakes. My favorite poster of all time you see out there with Michael Jordan talks about how many times he failed. If you're not screwing up and you're not failing, you haven't tried hard enough. So do you have a sense of humor about the things that happen to you? We are patient in seeking results. How many of you would say that you are a little bit impatient? Right? We would all like things to show up faster. There was a great theory in the book Tipping Point, written by Malcolm Gladwell, where he says that when you look at the most successful people in the world, they put in a minimum of 10,000 hours, 10,000 hours before they hit it big. A minimum of 10,000 hours. For many, it was more. The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell.
What does 10,000 hours relate to in the way of time? Sorry.
Well, let's look at it this way. So the average employee, 2,080 hours a year. That's basically 40 hours a week. That's if you put in 40 hours a week, right? So it would take you approximately 5 years before you ever, and that's 10,000 hours before they ever got compensated, before they ever made a dime or ever made a penny. For many of them. When you look at people like Bill Gates and different other people, examples that they show in there. If you look at basketball players, another perfect example, how much time do you think they spent playing basketball before they ever made it into a professional league? Or any kind of sports athletes or anyone like that? Well, first of all, because they're doing what they absolutely love, so it's not work to them, right? We don't allow ourselves any excuses. Trust me, I hear countless excuses every single day. I walk past my office, walk in my office, send me an email, make me a phone call. I'm not saying I don't make excuses. I do that as well. But I try and limit them as much as I possibly can. What kind of things are you making excuses for? Well, I don't have the time, or oh, I didn't have enough training, or oh, I didn't know this, or oh, I didn't get that information that I needed, or I didn't know where to get the information that I needed. I don't know. You have to answer that for yourself. Yes, John?
I've got a question.
Okay.
If you, on your side of that question,
Mm-hmm.
you ask somebody what happened, why didn't you do that? You just don't get home. What if you got a reply?
I think that that's the best reply you can get, because that means you're going to figure it out.
That's kind of what I've tried to use. People in your position don't want to hear all my excuses. I got them.
Right.
But I don't want to hear them.
I got them.
Yeah.
Trust me, I could give you a longer list than you got, I'm sure. I got a million of them, you know.
I realized a long time ago, you don't want to hear my excuses. You just want to hear no excuse.
Right. Because here's the thing, you guys. When, and this is, I'll get on my high horse political here, or whatever you want to call it for a moment. I think the biggest problem with our society today is lack of responsibility. Right? We all want to sue somebody or blame somebody or accuse somebody. We all want to take the pressure off of us, because what happens if we take the pressure off of us? Now we don't have to be responsible. If I say I couldn't get it done because X, then I can feel better about myself because it wasn't my fault. Right? Not my fault. It was somebody else's fault. And the problem with that is it then takes you to a place where now you don't feel like you need to do anything more. You don't have to work on it. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to contribute to it. You don't have to whatever. When you say no excuses, what does that cause you to do? Makes you want to turn around and go fix it. All right, well, I guess no one else is going to pick up my laundry. I guess I better do it myself. Right? But many of us love to be lazy. Don't get me wrong. I'm right there with you. I'd love to not have to do anything. I personally don't cook, clean, or do laundry because I have a great gal who does it for me. But I choose to work. Now, if I didn't work hard enough, I couldn't afford that luxury, right? It's a choice that I made. So I can blame things all day long, but the problem with that is that the moment you blame someone else, you have now effectively taken it off your plate, at least mentally. You've taken it off your plate, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's somebody else's problem. And I don't know about you, but how's that really working for us as a human race? It's not getting it done. And we all want to just pass it off to someone else because it's easier. So I'll throw my husband in front of the bus for a moment. He doesn't mind. So when our children were little, this is a perfect story, and I don't mean it mean. When our kids were little, I'll never forget, I do mean it mean. We were getting ready to leave the house, and we were both going separate directions, and we had 2 small children, right? And as we're leaving, I said, Joe, you taking the boys with you? He goes, oh, it's easier if they go with you. And I said, easier on who? Right? And then we agreed to each take one, or we made a decision about it. But many times, right, it's easier to push it off on somebody else. Can you turn that air on? Is it hot in here? It's just me. It's so much easier to blame someone else or pass the buck. We can say, well, you know what? I haven't sold any houses because, man, the economy sucks. I haven't sold any houses because there's no inventory. I haven't sold any houses because, I don't know, you can come up, we can make a long list. I'm sure we got a big old list. So for someone who has no excuses and has no other option, and they have a buyer who wants to buy a house in a specific area, what could they do? Do they really have no options? Well, there's no inventory. Nobody's listed a house. Or what could you do? John, you did it.
Well, I found a house that these had search in the area. He said to go look.
Yep.
He already told me where to go look. I didn't even have to go find it.
There you go.
Go look there.
So now, if you were a person who had excuses, what would have happened?
I had waited until something came on the market in that area.
Right. And what could have happened to his buyer? So are you using that? Because I get that it's tough out there, you guys. I get it. But you know what? If it was easy, everybody would do it. We saw that in 2005, didn't we? We saw the top, for those of you who are around then, the top of the market when 1 out of 3 residents in the state of California had a real estate license. 1 out of 3. Kind of pathetic, right? Everybody, if you ask, you could throw a stick and hit a realtor, right? Everybody you talked to had a relative, family member, friend, buddy, coworker who sold real estate. Now, how many of those do you think did it well? Do you think that any of those contributed to the current crisis we're in? I don't know. You have to ask that yourself. We come every day prepared to work. I always say this, if you knew today that in 45 minutes you had an appointment with a $3 million buyer, would you be comfortable in what you currently have on? Did you show up today prepared to work? Did you? I can only ask you that. You can only answer that for yourself. Now, some agents will say, oh, my clients are all casual. They think it's cool that I wear jeans. Okay. If that works for you, then that's fine. But are you prepared to show up for work? Don't you see a significant difference in your attitude when you show up dressed for success? I can see it on your faces when you show up hot, because I walk up and I say, wow, you look great in a suit, TJ. He's all, rooster feathers, get all, right? But, I mean, the truth is don't you feel more successful, more professional, more prepared? Don't you show when you're dressed for success, aren't you ready to work? You're like, I'm getting it done today. Who can I talk to? Where can I go? What meeting can I attend? Where can I find some networkers? When you are dressed for success, you show up bigger. There's something to say about it. We do not hesitate to ask for help. I always love this one because I say the most successful people on the planet ask for help. They ask, what can I do? How can I fix it? What can I do better? Show me, teach me, help me learn. But for many of us, our ego gets in the way and we're like, I can do it myself. I don't need anybody's help. Is that a professional? We do not take failure personally. You guys, we all screw up on a regular basis. Sometimes several times a day I screw up, right? We all have those. But if you start taking it personally, or if when somebody sees you fail, you take it personal, then what starts to happen? You start to shut down. You start to get depressed. You start to take it as personal attacks on you. It's not personal. That's the biggest egomaniac thing ever. You think the whole world has nothing better to do than to stop the world and pick on you? Really? It ain't personal. It's never personal. And here's the thing that I've asked my friends to know about me. That if you know my heart, my intent was never to hurt you personally. Ever. Now, my words don't always come out right. My tone of voice is not always appropriate. Sometimes I say things and wish I could roll them back in. But it's not personal. In other words, if I'm treating you with no excuses, it's because I want what's best for you. And I know that making excuses is not what's best. It's not. So are you taking it personally? Because again, if you take it personal, it does the same thing as earlier when we said it blames other things. When you try to shift that blame onto something else, kind of the same thing happens when you take it personal. Instead of trying to fix the problem, you're trying to pass it off as there must be something wrong with me as a human being. Well, God don't make no junk. You're all perfect exactly as you are. So instead of taking it personally, could you find a way to fix the problem? Could you say, I'm not going to take this personal, I'm just going to go fix it. Let me see what I can do to change it, make it better, improve it, do whatever is necessary. Could you not agree with that? What kind of things might you take personally as a real estate agent?
Go on a listing and don't get it.
Do you think that was personal?
No.
But you could take it personal, right?
That didn't work. What can I do to make it work?
Exactly. If you take it personal, do you think that you're going to go try and fix it? No, you're going to think, well, they just didn't like me because I'm blonde or whatever the reason is. It won't work for you, right? We endure adversity. We are here for the long haul. We figure it out. We stand up. We keep moving forward, right? Keep moving your feet. You might not get what you want to go, but you're going to get somewhere. And you'll figure out a better way once you get there. We reinvent ourselves when needed. How many of you know somebody who didn't reinvent themselves in 2005, 2006, that are now no longer in the real estate business? Do you think there's ever a time when we can sit still and not worry about it? I don't. The market changes every single day. In 2005, I jumped into REO. That was the place to go. That was a smart decision looking in hindsight. Do you think that if I'm so attached to REO right now, I'll still be in business a year from now? Not likely. Last November, started reinventing. Okay, I got to figure out a different direction because I'm here for the long haul. I'm not moving away anytime soon. We are recognized by professionals, recognized as professionals by others. If I were to ask the top 20 people around you, would they all say that you're a professional? You guys have to answer for yourself. I'll tell you, one of the best things that I ever did was, it was a part of a thing called Strategic Coach. And we were asked to actually send out an email or a letter to the top 20 people that were closest to us. And the question was, please choose 10 words to describe me. It was actually really fascinating. And at the end, you were to take the 10 most popular words and put them on a little chart to describe you. And I have that sitting in front of my desk. You can see it at any time. It was pretty cool. But I was a little hesitant to send that out. Would you? I was a little nervous about sending it out. I thought, oh, wow, what are they going to say? Will they have good things to say? Will they? And nobody said anything crappy, amazingly enough. I was pretty shocked by that. I was actually excited. They all had really positive, good things to say. And things that I didn't even see within myself. I didn't even see it. Like, wow. So how would others describe you? Would a professional real estate agent be one of the things that they choose to describe you and what you do? I don't know. You have to answer that for yourself. So let's go to the other side a little bit. It says we show up when we want to. We talked a little bit about that. If you'll notice, want to is highlighted a little bit there. Again, we show up whenever the hell we want. Nobody knows when you're going to be here, when you're not going to be here. When's so-and-so coming in? I don't know. Right? Did you have a question, John? I missed you. I forgot. Or did I answer it?
No.
Or a statement?
As far as the professional thing, if somebody answers that question in regards to themselves, would that be slanted as how many deals they did, how successful they were that way as a top producer, or was it how professional they were in a deal that you did with them?
I would not relate it to production myself if I were to describe someone as a professional real estate agent, because I've seen some extraordinarily professional real estate agents that only sell 20 or 30 houses a year. And that's exactly what they want to do. Versus I've seen agents that sell 150 to 200 that are the most unprofessional, disrespectful people I know. So I would not, personally, if I were to describe someone, I would not tie it to production. And well, I disagree with you because I think that most consumers have no idea what your production is or not.
But other realtors do. Other realtors, if you're asking, do.
Most don't. My assumption is most don't. If you were to give me a list of the agents that you think are the top 3 agents in the area, I could look up their numbers. I wouldn't say that they're more professional because they had bigger numbers. For me, I wouldn't say that. Like I said, some of the biggest agents that I know that sell the most are not people that I would tag as professional.
Okay, the reason I ask that question is myself, I feel I'm a professional in what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do it the best of my ability with what I've learned in 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
But my numbers aren't great. They're not high. So that's why I ask that question.
So I would, if that's a concern of yours, I would attribute that to either not necessarily professionalism, but maybe your level of commitment. That's what you have to look at. But again, I wouldn't even criticize that if I were me because I don't know what your version of success is, right? So I've had people that say, you know what, I'm not interested in doing 100 homes a year. I want to do 12. That will give me the life that I want, give me some balance. I can work, the hours that I've dictated or whatever that number is. I don't know what your version of success is. So I couldn't really dictate that one way or another. But
There you go.
exactly.
Those are 2 different.
Right, it's 2 different words. And here's the problem with the word success as well, is that it's so varied based on what's important to you. So professionalism within a deal you absolutely have control over, right? And you have control over the number of deals you do and the number of what you consider success. But again, I learned a long time ago to not judge somebody based on what I thought was successful versus what they think is successful. Because for many, if I were to tell you exactly what my definition of success is, wouldn't ring true for any of you. I have a completely different vision of what I want for my life and what is important to me and what I believe successful is. And what you'll find is the more successful people are, the harder it is to achieve. Because my bar, I've set way higher for myself than anyone else could ever set for me. So, and my success, my version of success has changed dramatically over the years. I used to think, wow, if I could sell 100 homes a year, I'm done. I've hit it, right? Then I thought, okay, well, I did that, so now what? So then it became, if I could hit $1 million a year, that would really be success. Well, then when I did that, I didn't really feel successful because I didn't really have a life. So then I had to change up what successful was to me. And that's when I had to really look at my priorities that we do in the priorities class. And to me, successful is, okay, I do well financially, but my kids like me, my husband wants to hang out with me, I'm in better physical shape than I am now. There's a variety of things that I now contribute to success that weren't necessarily there a few years back. That's what you have to look at. On the amateur side, it says we do a little here and a little there. We, for the majority of us, have ADD, incapable of focusing or paying attention. I'm reading a great book right now, one of the best authors, in my opinion, and they're short books and have pictures so you can get through them quick. It's by Stephen Pressfield, and he wrote The War of Art, and he also, his newest one is called Pro versus Amateur. It's actually really fascinating. And in there he talks about addiction, and I was really actually fascinated by this because when I say the word addiction, what actually comes to mind for you? Alcohol, drug abuse, gambling abuse, those kinds of things, right? Sex abuse. What's that? Solitaire? So the interesting thing that he talks about that is that there's a new addiction coming about. Anyone guess what that is? Right. There's this technology addiction now. And I'm totally guilty of it. Well, it's now being recognized, right? Yeah, there's a technology addiction, right? Where we are no longer really capable of not checking our email, not looking. They say that 70% of human beings now get on the internet before they get out of bed. So I don't know, I'm guilty of that because my phone's right there. I look at it, then I get up. I'm guilty of it, totally guilty of it. We're actually going to Tony Robbins for 4 days, and I know you do too, so don't be trying to look just at me. We're going to Tony Robbins for 4 days. And I do have to say, one of my little concerns is that I'm not going to be able to be on my phone for 4 days. Right? From 8:30 till 11:30 or whatever his ridiculous hours are, we need to pretty much disconnect. I know that for my children, same thing. They're completely addicted, especially our son John, because he's Mr. Social Media guy. Although he's now not on Facebook, he's on Instagram, and he won't add me on Instagram. Yeah. Right. So all the kids are now going to Instagram and Tumblr, I guess, is the other one. I don't know. Okay, so what else is an amateur? It says we have a chip on our shoulder. Now, I'm going to explain this to you in a different way. I call it defensive. Like if somebody asks you, what are you doing? Oh, nothing. Or what do we do if we're defensive? We either try to shift the blame onto someone else, right? We try and become defensive about what we're doing. Are we doing the right thing? Are we doing what we need to be doing to stay in business as a professional? We want immediate gratification. Well, I think everybody wants that, right? Did you take the test yet, Beth? I see you looking over there. You need to take the test. There you go. No, we didn't hand it in. I should have made everybody turn it in, huh? No, then you wouldn't be honest. We'd all not be honest if we had to turn it in. We do things haphazardly. I don't know about you, but I know that I do that many times. I get busy and I do things at the last minute. Even preparing for this class today, I knew what I wanted to say, but I kind of waited till this morning to pull it together. Should I have had it prepared sooner? Probably. But I had an idea of what I wanted to say, so I was okay with it. But for many of us, we wait till the very last minute. How many of you have had a situation where you're going to meet a client at 1 o'clock today, and so you wait until 12:30 to prepare your contract or your package? And what notoriously happens when you do that? Printer goes down, technology problems, car's out of gas. I mean, something always, doesn't it? It's like Murphy's Law. It never fails. When you're supposed to be somewhere at a certain time or you're supposed to have something prepared at a certain time, things go wrong. To me, that's God whispering, saying, what the hell is the matter with you? You should have done this earlier. You procrastinated. Fear deters us. So we get afraid, many of us, right? We get that little feeling in our belly that says, oh, I don't really want to do that because I'm afraid I'm going to screw up or I'm going to look stupid or they're going to say something to me or I don't know what we're afraid of. We're afraid of a million things. But for many of us, fear deters us. It's a sign of an amateur. Because as professionals, we just plow through it, good or bad. We'll figure it out on the other side, right? Any excuse is enough to pause. Oh, I can't do that today because I have to check my Facebook friends. Oh, I can't do that today because my shoes aren't shined. Oh, I can't do that today because I don't know why. I didn't wash my car. I don't know. We got a million things. Yes.
When you just did that, if we were to do that, see how silly that sounds? That excuse would go right out the window.
You're absolutely right.
My car is dirty.
Right.
We use that.
We use it all the time, don't we? I mean, come on. I know I do. So, I mean, I'm sure you guys do. If you say it out loud, but many of us won't say it out loud. We'll just come up with excuses, right? Oh, I can't do that because I got to get my suit cleaned. Or they're always stupid excuses. They're never like significant. It's never like, oh my God, I was in a car accident, or oh my God, my dog died, or I mean, it's little things that we use. We make it easy for ourselves, so we find it easy to come up with an out. I don't know about you, but I know that Heidi Jensen, if any of you guys know her, she's one of our agents here. She just had her third child, a newborn, and her other two are, I think, 2 and 4. I don't know, but she's got 3 really young kids. And literally, no joke, about 3 days after that baby was born, maybe 3 days after the baby was born, she was in here in the office scanning her paperwork and getting it done and turned in on a file so a house could close. I was like, oh my God, I don't know that I'm that committed. She was literally in here getting her stuff done. I said, she goes, well, somebody had to do it. I had to get it done. I said, well, you could have called someone at the office. Well, she had to get it done. So whenever I think of an excuse, I think of Heidi standing there with a newborn and 2 little, but she had all her kids with her even. And standing there at the machine scanning her paperwork. And I'm like, really? I don't got any excuses today. Come on now. The next one is we love to grandstand. You'll see many people that love to brag about how great they are. And usually, like if any of you guys been on the other end of the phone, I've been doing this for 20 years. I love when I get that agent on the phone. That's like comical to me. I'm like, really? Well, then now having done it for 20 years, you should know better. I mean, I don't usually say that, but I really want to say it. We try to do it all. Now, how many of you, does this happen on many occasions, you're just trying to do everything, and you're not really doing anything well, but we try to do it all. We're not really willing to share. We're not really willing to give that information. We're not really willing to ask someone to help. We feel better if we do it all ourselves, because then we can stand and say, well, I do it all. I don't have help. I don't need to pay an assistant to get that stuff done the right way, right? We go it alone. We fear rejection. We know for many of us, that's just a natural human mechanism in ourselves that we fear rejection. For me, I still, to this day, struggle with door knocking. I had to figure out a different way because I didn't like the door knock, just for me. And why? Because I'm not really comfortable standing there door knocking. It just didn't work for me. But there are some agents that got no fear, man. Chris DiMattei is a perfect example. I think he door knocks every single day for an hour. Megan Lahair, same thing. Every day, her business plan, she goes out and delivers 10 short sale packages every single day. I said, do you delegate it? She goes, no, I think they need to talk to me. It's like, wow. She does it every day. Impressive, wouldn't you say? We give up when the going gets tough. We saw that very clearly, again, in 2005 and 6. A lot of agents dropped out. Couldn't handle it. Weren't really willing to stick with it. Didn't know what to do. I heard agents say, well, you got lucky getting into REO. And I want to kick them in the shins. Because if you'd have followed me around with a video camera, you'd have seen me working 100+ hours a week doing BPOs for $50 a piece. You'd have seen my husband working all hours of the day, driving around, taking BPO pictures. You'd have seen me working my ass off so I could get milk money to feed my children in 2005 and 2006. That's what you would have seen. And get lucky by any stretch. But many people said, oh, I won't do BPOs for $50. I was like, really? Wow. That's groceries for a few days. I'll do it. I'll find a way. I'll figure it out. When houses weren't selling at the blink of a hat, I'd figure out something else to do. I was ready to go work at Taco Bell. I don't care what I have to do. I got children to feed. I have a house to pay for. Wasn't an option for me to quit. Is that an option for you? For many of us, we crumble under criticism. Someone tells us what's wrong with us and we don't handle it well. Again, those are the people that I love the most in my life. Tell me the truth. You look like crap today, Marguerite. Okay, I guess I better go home and change. Yes.
What do you do when you get the criticism?
To me, that's inner reflection. That's a time to...
Criticism as this is 100% accurate, or do you question it? Or...
It depends. I do both. There are times when I'm like, you know what? You're right. Wow, I need to fix that. You know, there are times when I've said something maybe to some of you that was wrong or inappropriate or hurt your feelings, and when you called me on it, I said, wow, you're right, I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. I will. If I feel that I made the mistake, I will. If I'm not sure if I made the mistake, I'll sit back and I'll look and I'll say, oh, was that accurate or was that fair? Usually I will go within and figure it out. Here's the thing to think about too, you guys. What is interesting to me is that when we're very critical of others and when we find the mistakes in others, the truth is many times that's a big old mirror, right? It's a huge mirror. And for me, my goal in life is to always improve me. My favorite saying, you'll see it on my Facebook page, says work on you and everything else comes together. Find ways to work on you. I read self-help books all the time. I read all kinds of stuff. Can't even tell you how many coaching classes I've been, how much therapy I've spent, counseling, a number of other things, some good, some bad, some not so great. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to figure out ways to be a better human being. How can I give back? What can I do? How can I improve? How can I be better at who I am? And how can I be better at what I do? How can I improve my craft? How can I improve these classes for you guys? Guys, I do this all on my own time. I don't get paid for these classes. I do it because, first of all, this is what I love. And if I can help you succeed in any way, if I can help you improve who you are and how you do business, if you walk out of this class today with your head held a little higher or a little more introspective, figuring out how you can improve, I've done my job. So my goal with these classes is to give you the best I got. Give you the best information I can with what I have. What can I do to help you get better? And the irony is I get way more out of this probably than you do. Way more out of it. I learn more. I soak up more. I figure out how to get better. That's what it's all about to me. We let it go when the interest wanes. Many of us, we get bored with real estate. Bored with it. Oh, well, I tried for a few months and I didn't do it, so I'm going to go find something else to do. And if that's for you, that's okay. Maybe this is not the industry for you. But if you're giving up simply because you are not committed enough or you don't think that you're capable, those are the wrong reasons. Because for many of us, this is hard work, isn't it? I mean, really, if it was easy, everybody would do it. This takes work. It takes commitment. It takes time. It takes learning and ability, and it takes focus. But so does everything else. So if you quit this, are you going to quit the next thing? And the next thing? And the next thing? I see it with all due respect in network marketing. I see these people who are super successful in one product or thing, and the next thing you know, they're selling another one. But that was the best one. You should have been a member of that. And I see them bounce to whatever the hot product is at the moment, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. Now, maybe it was the product. Maybe it was that dream or vision of making $1 bazillion. I don't know what it is. But the real truth is when you do what you love, the money comes. When you put in the 10,000 hours that Malcolm Gladwell talks about in the tipping point, guess what? Those people have hit it. They've made it successful. What are you committed to? The last one says, we're known to be amateurs trying to make it, in a professional world. So, again, how are you showing up? And is this how you show up at everything you do? Or is it just this? First of all, figure out if this is really what you love to do. And I'm here to tell you that if you don't love this, please get out. Really, please. Make room for the rest of us. Go do something else. Go do what you love. Follow your bliss. I don't care what that is, whether it's, art, music, television, radio, I don't know, basket weaving, whatever that is for you, whatever your bliss is, follow that. Not only will you be a happier, nicer person to be around, but you will be more successful no matter what it is. Follow your bliss. Figure that out. If you're having trouble figuring it out, I can tell you it's pretty easy. Like when I'm up here doing this is like crack cocaine to me. This I love to do more than anything. If I could do this all day long, life would be grand. So figure out what that is for you, because then the professional part is really easy, because you want to give your very best. You want your absolute best to show up on that table every day. You want that. You're not really willing to settle for less, which means you're not going to make excuses. You're not going to have all this stuff that says, oh my goodness, am I a professional or amateur? I know for a fact I'm a professional. There's no doubt in my mind, because this is what I love, love, love to do. So I'm going to give the absolute best I can whenever possible. Am I perfect at that? No. Do I make mistakes? Yeah. Do I sometimes do things half-assed? Yeah. But my goal and my vision is to serve, and my goal and my vision is to give the very best of what I got whenever I can. And that's what helps me stay focused. So I hope what you guys will do with this is that you will keep this, and you will rate yourself on a regular basis. And you will look at the things that are tagged under amateur and see what you can do to move to the other side. What can you do to improve it? Look at it again in a couple months. Take some of those things and figure out how you could stop doing that today. Could you show up a little more professional today with your very next client, with your very next associate? And when I say professional, you guys, I want you to not just think of professional with your clients. I want you to think of professional in everything that you do, in every human being that you treat. How are you showing up? Are you showing up with kindness or not? We have a tendency to treat the other people in our industry like they're lower class citizens, and I think that that's wrong. Am I perfect at that? No. There are times when I'm not so kind. But my goal, my focus is to keep this in front of me. And what can I do to be more professional? That's all I got today. You guys got any questions? You're all so quiet. Yes. I would read anything he's done, but actually The War of Art is fantastic. And he has one called Do the Work. I love that one because he says, just do it. Stop bitching about it. Do it. Do the Work. And his most current one is Pro versus Amateur. He's phenomenal. Anything by him, anything by Seth Godin, I love, love, love. Actually, if you just go to Seth Godin's, Godin, Seth Godin's blog even, and get his updates. I love Seth Godin because he makes it really short and simple and sweet. Like he said in here, this quote said, by my definition, most work has nothing to do with oil, paint, or marble. Art is what we're doing when we do our best work. You could say even real estate in that word. It's what we do when we're doing our best work. That's what it looks like. He's awesome. And Stephen Pressfield says, the amateur plays for fun, the professional plays for keeps. Yeah, those are good ones. All right. Thank you guys very, very much. Thank you for your time. Yes, Beth?
What do you do when you run into an agent that is like that one that I've been in the business for blah, blah, blah years? What do you do to not go, oh my God, I'm dealing with such an idiot? Because then you feel like you're being petty, but it's so frustrating. So how do you rise above it, or how can you even maybe help somebody who is totally acting like an amateur, who may have a lot to offer and may be a good agent, but they're acting like an idiot.
Well, first of all, they have to be open. So if they're not open, it won't matter what you say.
Yeah.
But second, what I did one day, and this is no joke, I had an agent I called one day and I said, hey, I have some questions and stuff, and she was really short and rude with me. And I said, I'm just wondering if we could start this call over again, because what I'm hearing from you is very rude. Am I hearing it wrong? And many times it will snap them out of it. Like if somebody said that to you, you'd be like, you would take a minute, because maybe you did. Like I know that there have been times when I've come across, when I've said things that sound very condescending. It's not my intent, but it sounded very condescending. I know that about myself, but I don't always catch it. And on occasion, I've had somebody catch it for me. I'll be like, you're right, that was not my intent. I'm sorry, let's start over. And I actually love it when they do that. I can't say that everyone is open to that. But sometimes I'll just, and when I've had somebody be really, really rude or, or treat my staff horribly, I will say, you know what, I'm going to give you a couple minutes to calm down, and then let's start this conversation over again, because here's what I'm hearing. Regardless of what you're saying, here's what I'm hearing. This is what I'm picking up. And so I've done that on occasion. It depends on the person. Sometimes they're very open to it, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they don't realize. So most of the time they do, And again, it's one of those things where you can take, or I've said, let me hang up the phone and send an email, because an email sometimes can help me get my point across a little better than I might get that point across in person. But I think that if it's somebody that you admire and respect who's treated you that way, I'd absolutely call them out.
Well, usually it's not. Even somebody that you know enough to.
But first, check how you're handling the situation. Because I've found many times that it's my tone that's coming across, which is creating that defense mechanism in them. Does that make sense? So, if you think about the tone of your voice is like 70% of the message. So, in how you infer and the things that you say, sometimes can create that situation. I know that I can do that. I know that there have been times when I've had to check myself. I'm like, in other words, if you're not getting the reaction that you were expecting, that's a clue to you, not a clue to them, right? So if I'm not hearing something, if I'm not hearing them handle themselves the way that I intended with my message, many times my message didn't come across right. And so I try to start with me. So sometimes I'll take a deep breath. I'll say, let me ask this question a different way. Let me figure out if I can get another response. I'll say, look, I'm just trying to figure out how. In other words, we have to check our ego, which means many times we got to back off first to let them calm down. But for many of us, and it's hard sometimes, we don't want to back off. We're like, what the hell's the matter with you? Why didn't you, were you not smart enough to check that box? Or, how long have you been in real estate that you didn't realize that you should have done this? But I mean, right? But I mean, you know that in your head that's what's going through. So do you think that maybe some of your tone or your comments might be filtering through? Right. I know that's true for me. That's all I'm saying. I know that I have to, if I'm not getting the reaction from you that I was expecting, I try to look at me first and see if I didn't handle that right. That's how I would handle it. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, because trust me, you'll ask my team and they like to not let me answer the phone for very good reasons. Thank you guys very much. I'm honored that you came today. Thanks. Oh, next week? What's next week? Oh, next week's Tuesday tune-up is Microsoft Word. Who's teaching that class? Mr. Ray Fuentes.
Yeah, we had a class on Excel, use it as a database, and Word is a nice way to put letters together, letters from the heart, emails, all that stuff with your current database that you're using in Excel. So I'll put all that together and show you how to play with Word a little bit and how to use that with Excel and PowerPoint.
Fantastic. So yes, I would get to that class. Thank you guys very, very much. Go out and make it a great day.
That's what I'm showing. That's a good question. Yeah.